Hello YouTube world, it's Jack Cypher here, and today I bring you a new series called The Legends of the Red Dawn. In this video we're going to be ranking the Akatsuki from weakest to strongest. In the future we'll also be doing individual character analysis on each Akatsuki member, from the monster of the hidden mist to the Lady Angel herself. We'll be covering all of them. I've also got some really good ideas about verse battles between the Akatsuki members, so if you've ever wondered about a battle between Itachi and Kisame, or Kakazu and Sasori, you've come to the right place. Now I need to mention this, but this top 10 list is my own personal opinion. I'll be backing up all my reasons for why characters should be where they are, but I understand that everyone's not going to agree with me, and in having said that, I would love for you to leave in the comments your thoughts and opinions on how you think the Akatsuki should be ranked. Now this shouldn't be necessary, but I feel compelled to drop a spoiler notice. For any who haven't finished Naruto, there will be spoilers for certain characters' real identities. If you finish Naruto, then you all know who I'm talking about. I would also like to quickly mention that my pronunciation is awful, so if I mispronounce a word or name, forgive me. But now, on with the top 10. Coming in at number 10 is Zetsu. Now first off, I want to say that Zetsu is two different individuals. There's the white half and the black half. I'll be getting into their different personalities and backstories more in their own character analysis video. For now, I just want to discuss their powers. We'll start off with the fact that White Zetsu is not a frontline fighter. His abilities are suited for a more support type role. While not having much destructive capability or combat prowess, he certainly makes up for it with his own powerful, unique abilities. He was able to create multiple identical clones of himself who have the ability to absorb chakra. He can also plant these clones on other people in the forms of spores. These spores were undetectable to even Kage level ninja, as well as prestigious sensory type shinobi. When he activates these spores, they take the form of giant white mass that restricts and absorbs the targeted person's chakra. He also has the ability to transfer chakra to other people to heal and restore stamina. His most dangerous power, though, might be his transformation ability. It might very well be the greatest transformation ability in the whole series. By doing this, he was able to completely alter his form and his chakra signature to make a perfect, though admittedly weaker, version of anyone he chooses. This ability caused mass panic in the Fourth Great Shinobi War. By transforming his appearance, the Allied Shinobi force had no idea who they could trust and caused a lot of discord in their ranks. The only known way to distinguish White Zetsu's shapeshifting ability was by sensing hatred, which is an ability exclusive to the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki. Though because White Zetsu's combat ability was weaker than his comrades in the Akatsuki, he mainly used his abilities for decoys, infiltration, and assassination. He could also merge with the ground to travel long distances very quickly. It also masked his presence and chakra from being able to be sensed, making him a perfect spy. Because he has the cells of the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, he was able to heal from nearly any wound without even having to weave hand signs. When split from his other half, Black Zetsu, they're able to still communicate over long distances by extending routes underground to talk to each other. And now that we've talked more about White Zetsu, it's time to get into his other half, the sinister Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu's greatest power isn't an ninjutsu ability, it's not even a chakra ability. It's his natural, twisted ability to deceive and manipulate other people, something he's been doing for centuries, shaping and changing the ninja world to accomplish his ultimate goal, which is something we'll get into more in the Zetsu's character analysis video. Black Zetsu was a very accomplished sensor, being able to sense others' chakra from kilometers away. Also, like his other half, White Zetsu, he was able to travel through the ground and giving him the ability to hide his presence to travel long distances quickly. He was also able to use wood-style Kekkei Genkai of the first Hokage. though while skilled in its use, it was nowhere near the level of power of Hashirama himself. Black Zetsu didn't have a normal body, far from it actually. He was able to survive being cut in half and was able to live for over 1,000 years without aging. He also had the unusual ability to record whatever he saw and to show that footage to another person by attaching his body to them. This ability to attach himself onto others is very reminiscent of a parasite. By doing this, however, he gained control over another person and allowed him to use their special abilities, like their Kekai Genkai. However, this ability can be a double-edged sword, because if the target regains control over their body, they are able to prevent Black Zetsu from detaching himself, giving the target the chance to use Black Zetsu's own power against him. Just like his other half, Black Zetsu is definitely a sideline fighter. While their abilities are numerous and deadly, when it comes to power in a one-on-one fight, they're outclassed by those above them on this list, which is a scary thought given the fact that Zetsu is one of the most dangerous characters in the show. But unfortunately for them, they fall into 10th place. Now to continue our list, 9th spot goes to Hedon, the S-rank rogue ninja from the village hidden in hot water. Hedon's greatest ability by far is his immortality. There's nothing that can kill him, nothing other than starvation. His immortality is so great that he can even survive after having his head cut off. Though having said that, his body can't move without his head, meaning that if Hedon gets beheaded, someone else has to reattach it, like how his partner Kakazu does. Not only is Hedon immortal, but he also has an incredibly high regeneration. After his battle with Shikamaru and Azuma of the Leaf concluded, his grievous wounds were able to heal in an incredibly short period of time. Hedon's immortality also comes in incredibly handy when Hedon activates his curse jutsu. It's an incredibly dangerous technique, where once Hedon takes a drop of his opponent's blood into his own body, he's able to curse them. The curse is a deadly one in which anything that happens to Hedon happens to his opponent. It basically turns Hedon into a human voodoo doll. It's virtually an instant kill move, because he can simply pierce his own heart and his opponent who's linked to him will instantly die. But Jack, if this is the case, then why isn't he higher on this list? Well, it's an incredibly powerful technique, but there are some drawbacks. For one, Hedon has to be able to take his opponent's blood into himself, which depending on the opponent's skill and their knowledge on Hedon's abilities can be very difficult. Also, Hedon has to be standing in a ritual symbol to be able to activate and use the curse, greatly diminishing his incredible maneuverability. While the curse jutsu does have drawbacks, Hedon's extreme skills in taijutsu usually allow him to be able to get the blood he needs. He was able to fight both Azuma and Kakashi, two incredibly powerful Hidden Leaf Jonin. He was able to kill Azuma. While his strength, speed, and skill in taijutsu is impressive, he lets himself be ruled by his emotions and doesn't use his mind enough, relying on his immortality and curse jutsu too much, and he's too vulnerable to long-distance attacks. While I think his brute force and skill with his three-bladed scythe would be enough to handle Zetsu in a one-on-one fight, his skills come up too short to those higher on this list. Number 8 is Konan, and yes, I know that there will be a lot of people who reckon Konan should be higher on this list, and yes, her battle against the masked Madara in the Hidden Rain village was impressive, but that was Konan with a lot of prep time. In a spontaneous one-on-one battle, she wouldn't have that prep time, meaning she couldn't use her 10 billion paper bomb fuck-off blast that she used against Madara. She's also very hard to rank because we haven't really seen many of her abilities. She's wicked intelligent and her paper jutsu is quite versatile and powerful. Her ability to mix in paper bombs with her own paper jutsu was impressive. She also has great maneuverability with her angel wings. I think it's pretty safe to say that with her paper explosions from long range in the sky, she would be able to quite easily deal with Hedon and Zetsu. Zetsu lacks any real defense or combat sense, and while it wouldn't kill Hedon, the blast of her paper explosions would probably blow up Hedon's body, making him useless. I know some people might still be sad with me putting the beautiful Angel of Death this low, but the others on this list are just so powerful that I don't see how she could beat them. Now, if she had prep time, that would be a little bit different, but that can be a video for another time. I might do that in Konan's individual character analysis video, but for now, we have to move on to lucky number 7. Number 7 was the hardest one for me to rank on this list. I switched number 6 and 7 around so much, but I ended up having to put Daeda at number 7. I know, this was painful for me to do. Daeda is one of my favourite Akatsuki members, so I hate having to put him this low, but guys, number 7, 6, 5, and 4 are all so close, the power difference is so minuscule that they're so hard to rank. In a lot of ways, Daeda is more powerful than number 6. But if they were to fight one-on-one, number 6 would just be able to sneak in the win. Though, and this is very important, Daeda's C0 ultimate art technique, in which he turns himself into a suicidal bomb, that technique is so powerful that if he uses it, he would be able to get an instant draw on 6, 5, and 4. But since the technique costs him his life, I have to rank him at number 7. Now, Daeda has a lot of powerful techniques. Out of all the Akatsuki, he's ranked around the top when it comes to destructive capability. He's able to turn clay into explosives, then mold that clay into exploding creatures. Daeda is definitely a long-distance fighter, who has a keen mind for strategy and creativity, which makes him a very deadly opponent. He was able to defeat the Kazekage Gaara, the one-tailed Jinchuriki, while holding back, because he needed to capture Gaara alive, meaning he had to limit himself quite a lot. But to be fair to Gaara, Gaara was also forced to hold back and limit himself to protect his village. But I don't think it would have made much of a difference in the long run. Daeda was still quite easily able to get a comfortable W over the Kazekage. Early Shippuden Naruto also proved no match for Daeda. Even being short on supplies, he was able to deal with Naruto with relative ease. It took Kakashi's secret Mangekyo Sharingan to fatally injure Daeda, but even then, he was able to shake the Kamui technique off and continue fighting with no arms. He was clever enough to be able to fend off and escape from Guy, Neji, Lee, and Tenten with both arms missing. Truly an impressive feat. Some of Daeda's greatest techniques are his Clay Dragon, which he uses in conjunction with landmines. The Clay Dragon technique is a very deadly ability, being able to produce massive explosions from long range. We can also assume that the dragon itself can be used as an explosive. He also has his C3 technique, which he used to try and blow up all of the hidden sand village. While Gaara was able to prevent the sand village from being destroyed, Daeda's C3 is still a village-destroying attack. In comparison, Pain, the leader of the Akatsuki, could destroy whole villages with a single attack, just showing how destructive Daeda truly is. Now, the ability I really want to talk about the most is his C4 technique. It's a giant explosion that releases microscopic bombs into the bloodstream to destroy the opponent from the inside out, eradicating them at the cellular level. Now, this is truly a devastating technique, and when I first thought the list up in my head, Daeda was much higher, because at first glance, I assumed this technique could instantly kill numbers 6, 5, and 4. Even now, part of me still thinks that Daeda could kill them with this ability. And yes, he could, but the C4 technique takes a little while to set up. It's also possible for Daeda to kill himself with this technique, meaning it can only be used in certain circumstances. I've been talking about Daeda for a while now, but I'll explain later in the video why the higher ranked characters could be able to beat Daeda, and how they would be able to prevent the C4 explosion. And on that note, At number 6 is Sasori of the Red Sand. Now I assume a lot of people kind of figured Sasori would be next. In the top 10 Akatsuki videos I've seen, Daeda and Sasori are usually right next to each other. It's very interesting to see how people list them. I know that Sasori is quite the fan favourite, but I also know that a lot of people give him shit because he lost to Granny Chiyo and Sakura, and I reckon that's bullshit. That fight had so much going on, it wasn't as simple as some people think. The fight between Granny Chiyo, Sakura, and Sasori is something I'll go into at a later date though. Whether I make a whole video about the fight, or if I just throw it into his character analysis video, I'm not sure. But I will discuss it at some point in the future. For right now though, we're just going to discuss the badass puppet master, Sasori. Sasori is without a doubt the greatest puppet master in the Naruto universe. His ability to make human puppets and to control 100 puppets at once proves this. Even without his puppets, he's able to use his chakra strings to devastating effects on live humans. I think we first need to mention Sasori's human puppet, Hiroko, who he usually hides inside to make up for the physical disadvantages of a puppet master. Now, the Hiroko puppet is very deadly to ordinary shinobi. The lethal weapons dripped in poison can take most people out. Having said that, however, every member of the Akatsuki would be able to quite easily destroy that puppet, but destroying it leaves you with the problem of now having to deal with the real Sasori himself. Sasori's greatest puppet, and probably his most dangerous weapon, is the third Kazekage, a human puppet with the Iron Sand Keke Genkai, a jutsu which allows one to make any weapon or construct out of iron sand. Sasori's taken this one step further though, by coating the iron sand in his deadly poison. Sasori's poison is far more dangerous than people give it credit for. Other than Sakura and Lady Tsunade, I doubt anyone would be able to make an antidote for it. So when he soaks the iron sand in it, it becomes truly an incredibly and dangerous lethal weapon. And if that wasn't enough, Sasori turned himself into a human puppet. The advantages are he'll never age, giving him a form of immortality. He can still be killed though if his chakra core is destroyed. But wait, there's more. He has a technique which is arguably more dangerous than the poison iron sand, and that is his secret red move, the dance of 100 puppets. He used these 100 puppets to destroy an entire nation, just showing, like his partner Daeda, that he can cause damage on a ridiculously huge scale. The weapons on the 100 puppets are also coated in poison as well. Now this is where it gets interesting, because Daeda mentioned that Sasori is stronger than he is. Now I know a lot of fans have taken that in different ways, there is a lot of interpretation of what Daeda meant, but for right now, I'm just going to try to explain why I think Sasori would beat Daeda. First of all, I think Daeda would be able to dodge most of the third Kazekage's puppets' attacks. The iron sand scattered shower technique might be more difficult to dodge because of how quick it is, and even if one of those sand bullets pierces Daeda, he's finished because of the poison it's coated in. But to give Daeda the benefit of the doubt, let's say he's able to evade all of the third Kazekage's attacks by keeping a long distance away and using his Claybird's maneuverability in the sky to escape harm. Let's go even further and say Daeda destroyed the third Kazekage puppet, maybe with his clay dragon. That's when Sasori would bring out his 100 puppets. Now this is where I think Daeda would be screwed, because while I don't think the puppets would be able to straight up kill him, I don't think Daeda would be able to dodge them all. I can't see how he would escape without getting a scratch, and that scratch alone would be enough to end Daeda. Then Sasori would be able to just sit back and wait, or just keep on attacking until the poison finally works and Daeda collapses. Then Sasori just has to kill an unconscious Daeda, giving him the instant W. But really quickly, let's look at what Daeda could do against the 100 puppet technique. He has the C3 explosion, but I'm not sure he could really use that here because remember, he used it on a village, not on an individual person. By using it on Sasori to try and destroy the army of puppets, he could very easily end up just killing himself in the blast radius. Now, Daeda's C4 technique is interesting here because I don't even know if it would work on Sasori. From what I understand, the C4 technique releases microscopic bombs into the bloodstream, but Sasori is a human puppet, so he doesn't have blood, and even if it did work on him, once the bombs affected him, he could just transfer his chakra core to another body, or just hide his real body in another puppet like Hiroko. The C4 only works on living things, so Sasori might be immune to it in a puppet body. I don't know. Leave me your thoughts on it in the comments. Now on to number 5. At number 5, we have Kakazu. Now Kakazu was also really hard to rank. I kept moving him up and down the list. Kakazu is the partner of Hedon, and he has some very strange techniques. But before we get into that, we should quickly mention that a long time ago, he fought against the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. Now, I doubt he was able to do much against Hashirama, but the fact that he survived is a feat in and of itself, so I felt that it was prudent to mention. Kakazu stole the forbidden jutsu from his village after killing the elders. This forbidden jutsu allows Kakazu to store extra hearts in his body. These hearts extend his life indefinitely. It also allows him to use the nature affinities of those whose hearts he's stolen. He can hold up to 5 hearts in his body, meaning you have to kill him 5 times. These hearts can also manifest outside of his body in the form of monsters made out of black tendrils. Each monster can use a specific element. Because he holds 5 hearts in his body, he essentially has 5 people's worth of chakra reserves, making him a chakra powerhouse. His main technique is an earth-style flesh-hardening ninjutsu, making virtually all physical attacks useless against him, and greatly enhances his own physical strength. The only thing that seems to get through the flesh-hardening jutsu is either lightning style or an eternal attack. It can also probably be overcome by a super powerful attack, like Naruto's Rasen Shuriken. Of all the Akatsuki, Kakazu is probably in the top 3 when it comes to physical strength, but he's not all about physical might. His most dangerous abilities are probably his incredibly powerful elemental attacks. These attacks being able to destroy whole forests and cause a lot of collateral damage. He's especially dangerous when his heart monsters, and yes, that's what I'm calling them, when his heart monsters attack an enemy at once, hitting them with combined elements to overwhelm his opponents. Kakazu can also merge with his heart monsters to take on a drastic transformation, increasing his strength exponentially. Now, the reason I place Kakazu higher than Daeda and Sasori is because Kakazu's lightning style would be able to defuse all of Daeda's bombs. Not only could he defuse them, but he could also send his other heart monsters to attack Daeda while he himself is busy dealing with defusing the bombs. With Daeda's bombs useless, Kakazu or his heart monsters would be able to swoop in and get the W. Now, why do I have him higher than Sasori? It's because while Sasori's attacks are incredibly deadly, they're not the most powerful when it comes to force. I'm not sure he could even pierce Kakazu's flesh-hardening jutsu, and even if he did with the Iron Sand, Kakazu would just be able to revive himself with one of his heart monsters. And against 100 puppets, he could also use his wide-ranging elemental heart monster attacks to destroy them all, and deal with Sasori himself getting the W that way. He's also tied pretty closely with number 4. And speaking of number 4, in 4th place is Kisame Hoshigaki, the monster of the hidden mist, and one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Now, like Daeda, Kisame is one of my favorite Akatsuki members, from his design and personality to his overwhelming power and beyond lethal sword. All in all, Kisame easily became one of my favorite characters in the whole series as soon as I was introduced to him. Now, I said Kakazu was a chakra powerhouse, but he has nothing on Kisame. Kisame has the most chakra out of any member of the Akatsuki. This massive amount of chakra is what makes him so dangerous and what makes his ninjutsu so powerful. Though Kisame's main form of combat involves his great sword, Samihara, the most powerful of the 7 ninja blades of the mist. It's a semi-sentinel sword with the dangerous ability to absorb chakra. The more chakra the blade absorbs, the bigger it gets. It's able to transfer chakra to its wielder, making Kisame's already massive chakra reserves even larger. Samihara can also transfer chakra over in the form of stamina. Kisame uses this ability to heal himself and to always be able to continue fighting. Kisame has an incredibly powerful water affinity, being able to easily produce water in barren environments. His water style is so strong that most of his attacks create artificial oceans. In fact, one of his most powerful attacks is to cause a massive bubble of water to trap his opponents. This bubble is gigantic in size, resembling a floating sea. He can also cause tidal waves as well as massive dragons and legions of water sharks. He also has an incredibly powerful ability that creates a massive water shark that devours incoming attacks to make itself stronger to destroy his opponents. Now, not used on screen, Kisame can also use the hidden mist jutsu and would be a master of the silent killing technique, like all of the 7 ninja swordsmen. When you add all that with his monster strength, inhuman reserves of chakra, and terrifying skill in kenjutsu, you have a truly powerful individual. Now, despite how powerful Kisame is, his battles with the 3 ranked under him would all still be very close. His battle with Kakazu would be an especially lengthy fight. They are both powerhouses and have devastating ninjutsu. Kisame's gigantic water prison bubble technique would be quite useless against Kakazu because he could have his heart monsters swim in all different directions to escape the jutsu. Kisame's hidden mist jutsu would come in handy in this fight to help him pick off the heart monsters one by one. Kakazu's flesh-hardening ninjutsu would be useless against Samihara because Samihara would just absorb the chakra and cut right through him. Sasori would struggle the most out of the 3 because his 100 puppets would be devastated by Kisame's 1000 water sharks. That, with his other ninjutsu, and Sasori would just be overwhelmed and would be finished. Now Daeda would be very interesting because if he kept his distance and bombarded Kisame with explosions from the sky while staying out of range from Kisame's water jutsu, he would definitely be a worthy challenger. Also, Daeda's C4 could be devastating to Kisame because it would destroy him at a cellular level, meaning Samihara wouldn't be able to heal him. Actually, Samihara might be affected by the C4 as well, since it's a sentient sword. While Sasori and Kakazu have potential counters to the C4, I don't really see how Kisame would block it, unless he could wash all the microscopic bombs away with a massive tidal wave. It's interesting how number 7 could be able to potentially hold his own against rank number 4. Like I said earlier, Daeda, Sasori, Kakazu, and Kisame are all very close together when it comes to strength, but Kisame vs Daeda and Kisame vs Kakazu could be definitely potential verse battles I do in the future, but for now, we move on to the top 3. Before we get on to number 3, I just want to give a quick shout out to Orochimaru. I decided not to put him on this list, and I won't go into him much in this video, but if I was ranking him, this is where he would go. I feel that he would be able to beat all those we've mentioned so far. Kisame himself stated that he wouldn't be able to defeat Jiraiya, and Orochimaru is just as strong, if not stronger. Also, Orochimaru would be able to cancel out most of Kisame's big attacks with his own powerful ninjutsu and summonings. Also, Samihara would prove quite useless against Orochimaru's Kusanagi blade, which was able to even hurt the Monkey King Enma. Even though Orochimaru would probably be able to beat all those lower than him on this list quite easily, he's proven to be no match for our real number 3, and that spot goes to, you guessed it, Itachi Uchiha. And I can already imagine the comments. Itachi is number 3? What the fuck, Jack? You have no idea what you're talking about. Itachi should be number 1. Yes, I know Itachi's easily the most popular Akatsuki member. He's also quite possibly one of the most popular characters in the entire series. And I know that a lot of people love to just suck him off, me included. Itachi is such a badass. But this is sick Itachi we're talking about. We're not discussing a reanimated Itachi or a parallel universe Itachi where he isn't fatally sick. We're doing real, authentic Itachi with his sickness and blindness. Now, for all those still bitching that he's not number 1, just remember that even while almost blind and dying from a fatal illness, he's still able to easily destroy all those lower on this list. And he's able to put up a formidable challenge against the 2 ranked higher than him. Now let's get to his powers. He's quite possibly the greatest genjutsu user in the whole series. He's definitely a contender for that position. He can instantly reflect weaker genjutsu back at the attacker and can even cast genjutsu with the same hand he uses for hand signs. Speaking of hand signs, we need to mention his skill with fire style jutsu. Like the rest of his clan, his skill with fire style is immense, being able to use powerful fireballs as a mere child. He's also wicked fast, being able to cast jutsu without his opponent even seeing a single hand sign. He's also a master of the shuriken jutsu, being able to cause harm with deadly accuracy. He can also summon crows and make exploding shadow clones. This is all without even mentioning his Sharingan. Once Itachi activates his basic Sharingan, his already amazing genjutsu skills are enhanced even further, with him being able to ensnare almost anyone with just a glance. He can also instantly copy ninjutsu, and he's able to predict his opponent's next moves. With this amazing Kekkei Genkai, however, his greatest power, his Mangekyo Sharingan, this eye is so incredibly overpowered, and I'll explore the Sharingan, the Mangekyo Sharingan, as well as the other dojutsu at a later date in a separate video. Now, his Mangekyo Sharingan grants him 3 main abilities that make Itachi a colossal powerhouse. Let's start with his favorite one, Tsuki no Me. Tsuki no Me is the most powerful and deadly genjutsu in the whole series. It allows Itachi to trap his opponents in a genjutsu world where he controls everything. In this genjutsu world, Itachi is able to control time and space, as well as physical mass. Itachi also uses this genjutsu to torture his opponents by either making them relive painful memories or use it more directly to cause his opponents physical pain, like forcing his victim to be stabbed over and over again. The truly deadly thing about this technique is that Itachi controls your perception of time. 3 days of endless torture can be only a second in the real world. This genjutsu is so powerful that it can actually kill you, and if it doesn't kill you, it will most likely knock you unconscious. It's one of the most frightening abilities in the Naruto series. Another frightening ability that Itachi's Mangekyo has is his Amaterasu, the black flames that are said to be able to burn anything. It's said to continue burning for 7 days and 7 nights. Because the black flames ignite along one's line of sight, it makes avoiding Amaterasu almost impossible. It's also pretty fruitless to attempt to block it, since it burns through nearly anything. Amaterasu and Tsuki no Me will make Itachi nearly unbeatable, but he does have one more technique, and that's Susanoo, an ethereal giant made out of chakra capable of destroying most things, but it also grants the user an amazing defense. Itachi's Susanoo also goes a step further though, because it's equipped with 2 sacred treasures. One is a Totsuka blade, a sword capable of sealing anything away, and the other, the Yata mirror, capable of deflecting all things. With these 2 weapons, Itachi is practically invincible. So then why is he only number 3? That's because while these Mangekyo techniques are ridiculously overpowered, they come with extreme drawbacks. The more one uses this power, the more their eyesight, as well as their cells with Susanoo, are damaged. Itachi's eyesight was almost gone by the time he died. He also had an incurable disease that greatly affected his power. The reason he is number 3 is because of his diminishing power from his disease and his almost non-existent eyesight. With these drawbacks, I can't safely say that he could beat the 2 above him. Now, if we were doing reanimated Itachi, that's a bit different, but that's also a video for another time. I'd also like to quickly mention I didn't include Izanagi or Izanami. Given how difficult Izanami is to use and how you can only use Izanagi once, I didn't really see Itachi being able to make much of a difference with them. He would definitely catch someone off guard with the Izanagi or use it to escape harm, but unlike characters like Danzo and the Mask Madara, he would only be able to use it once, and I don't think that one time would prove all that useful against characters above him. Not to mention, if he used one of them, he would lose one of his eyes, meaning he couldn't use Susanoo or his sacred treasures, meaning it would probably be counterproductive to use Izanagi or Izanami. Now that we've discussed this, it's time to get on to number 2. Now in second place is Pain/Nagato. To make this video a bit easier for me, first I'm going to quickly talk about Nagato himself, then I'll go on to his 6 paths of pain and their abilities. Now Nagato is a member of the Uzumaki clan, giving him a very powerful chakra. He also possesses the Rinnegan, said to be the most powerful of the 3 great dojutsu. Due to a fight that happened in Nagato's past, he was left with an incredibly serious injury, preventing him from being able to walk properly. To counteract this weakness, Nagato always stays in his I don't even really know what to call it. It's basically some type of life support machine. He stays in this machine far away from a fight and uses his 6 paths technique to destroy his enemies. I'll explain the 6 paths technique in a minute. Nagato, before his crippling injury, showed just how powerful he was. He was able to use all the natural elements, summon the Geto Mazo, create the Black Rod receivers, seal away Jinchuriki, and use all 6 paths techniques himself. Now I've talked about the 6 paths techniques a lot, so now I'll quickly discuss them, though I think I'll leave the really in-depth discussion about that to a future video. This video is already incredibly long, so I'll save most of the 6 paths talk for Nagato's character analysis video or my future Rinnegan video. But to sum it up, there's 6 paths, and these paths are corpses that Nagato can control like puppets. All 6 puppets can also see through each other's eyes. He can control them from kilometers away, overcoming his own physical limitations. Each path has one specific ability. Like I stated before, Nagato could use all of these abilities himself. Now the first path technique is called the animal path. It allows Nagato to summon nearly any creature. These animals all have Rinnegan eyes and are incredibly powerful. They also grant the paths extra fields of vision since all the paths are linked, making them even more dangerous. The next path is the human path, and it has the ability to steal a person's soul. Once the soul is stolen, the victim will die, and the user's will get all the memories of the deceased. It's basically a one-hit kill move. However, the stronger the opponent is, the longer it takes to steal the soul. Against a strong opponent, the user would first have to restrain them, making this not all that useful against more powerful enemies. The next path is the Praetor path. It's one of the most useful. It lets the user absorb all ninjutsu. They can also absorb chakra directly from someone, giving this technique a slight offensive capability. The ability to absorb ninjutsu is incredibly useful and a powerful ability. The next is the most mysterious, and that's the Naraka path. Its first ability is for interrogation. It summons the King of Hell and rips out the victim's tongues if they're lying, killing them in the process. This technique, like the human path, isn't that useful against powerful opponents, because first you have to restrain them, then you have to summon the King of Hell and ask them a question. If you've already got them restrained, it's probably more effective to just use the human path. The second ability of the Naraka path is where its true power lies. It gives the user the ability to heal any damage done once again by summoning the King of Hell, effectively being able to revive the dead, or in this case, restore any damaged bodies of the other paths. The Naraka path is one of the most valuable, but also the most vulnerable. That's why it stays out of most of the fights. The next is the Ozura path, which lets the user summon and turn their body into mechanical weapons, such as blades, rockets, and laser cannons. It's the most physically powerful of all the paths, and one of the most lethal. Now the last path is the most powerful, and that's the Diva path, made out of Nagato's best friend, Yahiko. The Diva path has the ability of repulsion and attraction. As the name suggests, he's able to repel almost anything and pull objects towards him. The repulsion power is able to repel all taijutsu and ninjutsu, making it incredibly versatile. And its most powerful ability, it can destroy all of the hidden leaf in one blast, making it one of the most powerful techniques in the series. The Diva path can also use a power called planetary devastation, creating a ball of gravitational pull, being able to suck up tons of earth and anyone unlucky enough to be in its vicinity. It essentially creates a giant earth prison or floating meteorite. With all these techniques, it's no wonder that Nagato is number 2. While a reanimated Itachi might be able to challenge him, I still think that Nagato has the edge over an alive Itachi. But now, we can finally get on to number 1. By now, you should all know who he is. At number 1 is Obito Uchiha, aka Toby, aka Masked Madara. Now some people might give me shit for putting Obito as number 1, but first we need to establish which Obito I'm talking about, because his power fluctuates a lot in this series. On this list, he's the 4th Great Shinobi War Obito, with 1 Sharingan and 1 Rinnegan. Now let's get into his main ability, and probably the most broken power in Naruto, and that's Kamui. This Mangekyo technique allows Obito to slip through anything. It also allows him to travel through space, and gives him the ability to suck people into his own Kamui dimension. There's really no counter for this, unless you possess Kamui, or you aim for a counter attack when Obito materializes. But even knowing that, it's still almost impossible to touch him. Another ability that he has that isn't spoken about much is his Genjutsu. His Genjutsu is so powerful that he's able to completely control Yagura, the 4th Mizukage, and the perfect Jinchuriki of the Three Tails. This feat alone should show just how powerful Obito really is. The Genjutsu is at the level of Kodo Makatsuki Kami, which I know I butchered the pronunciation of. He was also able to put the Nine Tails under a Genjutsu with what seemed to be no trouble, which is an extraordinary feat because he would have only been around 15 or 16 when he did it. Like all Uchiha, he is also incredibly gifted at fire style and can copy any jutsu as well as predict enemies' moves before they make them. Now all this is without even mentioning his Rinnegan. All the powers I mentioned that Nagato had, well guess what, Obito has them as well. And yes, it was implied that he could use them all. Also, he has the power of 6 tailed beasts. Now even if you didn't give Obito the tailed beasts, I still don't see how anyone on this list could beat him. His only challengers would be Itachi and Nagato. Now Itachi hated Obito and wanted him dead. The fact that he never tried to kill Obito in a one-on-one fight just goes to show that Itachi didn't like his chances. And that was before Obito acquired the Rinnegan, which put him in just another realm of power. A fight with Nagato would be kind of interesting, but I don't see why Obito wouldn't just teleport directly to Nagato and just kill his main body. Obito's been using Nagato from the beginning, so he would know everything about him. Nagato's 6 paths wouldn't even be able to touch Obito because of Kamui. I can just not see how Nagato could beat him, and so because of that, Obito comes out of the top 10 Akatsuki list as number 1. For all those who are still here in this video, I just want to say how thankful I am for you to watch the first episode of Legends of the Red Dawn. This was the first YouTube video I ever created. Hell, it's the first video I've ever created. I'm not a very digital savvy person, so I'd greatly appreciate any who want to leave me some constructive criticism and tips on how I can make future videos better. Also, check out my channel to see what type of anime I'll be making videos on. If you've really liked this video, then hit that like button and subscribe for more anime content. Cypher out.